everyone, it's Anja here. I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks, and today, yes, it had to be done. We are making a granny square in the rainbow colors, of course. I mean, if there was one thing in this whole month of rainbow colored projects, this was one that I had to do. Of course, it's a basic granny square. It's just the different colors, but I am making several of them so I can make it for a cushion. Of course, you can make as many as you want and turn them into a blanket. The project, the method of working is the same, except you have to make a lot more squares. In the next video, we'll be putting them together, and you'll also see what I'm going to do on the other side of that cushion. But of course, I have so many blankets already. Those cushions have been a great way for me to show you different techniques, different, you know, ways of crocheting, you know, sort of different you know, like the C2C, the block stitch. If I would have had to make a blanket in all of those, well, I would not have been able to get into my house anymore now. So yeah, those cushion projects have been great because it means that I am doing things in compact size. So let's get started. For the colors, I'm going to refer you to my other video on the colours of my rainbow project, so go and have a look at those. And we are straight into it with the lipstick, and we are doing a slip knot. So I roll my yarn around my fingers twice like this, so the end dangling here, the ball wool here, and I take the back strand, put it towards the front, take the back strand, put it towards the front, and then the back strand is going to be pulled up, and that is my slip knot. I do that very often, so quickly I thought I might as well show you again. So we have our hook into our loop, and we have our yarn ready to get started, and we are going to chain 4. So you yarn over and pull it through the loop on your hook. So we have 4 chains. Now we are going to go into the first chain, and I always try and pick up 2 loops on my hook and 1 on the front here. Then you yarn over, pull through those 2 loops on your hook, and you have made a tiny circle. Then we are going to chain 2. I chain 2 for a double crochet. You might have to chain 3, but just try it with a 2 because the slip stitch later on will put a little bit more height onto this chain here. Then you yarn over, you insert into that circle, you pull up a loop. You now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, you pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and you pull through the other 2 loops. So this is a double crochet, and the chain that we did earlier is going to count as a double crochet, and what you need to do are clusters of 3 double crochets. So as this counts for our double crochet, we now have our 3 double crochets. Then we chain 2 into that same hole, into that same circle here. We are going to yarn over, insert into the circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we are doing again another set of 3 double crochets. There we go. So that's the 3 done. Again, we are doing 2 chains. Once more, a set of 3 double crochets. And we are going to make sure we now have 3 lots of 3 double crochets. We are going to make sure we have 4 lots. So 2 chains again, and back into that same hole. As you can see, it's gotten a little bit bigger. We are going to do another set of 3 double crochets. So those are the 4 sets of 3 double crochets. We now need to do 2 more chains to make our corner, and then we are going to finish our round by looking at this chain here. So these were the 2 chains that we did. We are going to leave those alone. This here is the V that's on top of the first proper double crochet that we did. That is a V that we are going to go under, and we are going to create a slip stitch. So you yarn over and you pull through the loop on your hook. I think it has split a little bit. No, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now as you can see, that slip stitch here has sort of become the top of that chain there. Okay, and to me it makes sense to do it like this because you're not adding an extra stitch by doing your slip stitch. My slip stitch is now lying above that chain, which was a little bit shorter than my double crochets, so that's worked out now. Okay, we are going to snip off the yarn. I pull out my loop, and I am going to give you one piece of advice, which I give everybody all the time: sew in your ends as you go, okay? Because that makes it a lot easier. What I tend to do is I sew them in square per square when I've finished the square. So here I have done, as you could have seen while I was talking, a slip knot on my hook, and now we are ready to get started again. I finished here, so I like to start here, just to the right of where I finished, okay? So you've got your slip knot on your hook, you yarn over, you insert into that corner space there, you yarn over and you pull up a loop, you yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. This is what they call a standing stitch. So we were crocheting that double crochet as if we were already crocheting, as if we were coming from the right, okay? So then we are going to do the same thing again. We are going to do sets of 3 double crochets, then 2 chains and another set of 3 double crochets into the same corner space there. Okay, so that has made our corner. Then we go to the next corner space, you yarn over and you go into that corner space, and you are doing your next set of 3 double crochets. I call them clusters. Okay, so a cluster is a set of 3 double crochets, and once again 3 double crochets, or a cluster of 3 double crochets. There we go. Okay, so now we have done 2 corners. Off we go again into the next corner. 3 double crochets, 2 chains and 3 double crochets. And the next corner, a cluster, 2 chains and a cluster. 2 chains and another cluster. Oops. Oh dear. Okay, there we are. Now I find that the standing stitch that we did, that closes up for me. Okay, so that first V that should be here, well, it is there, and I can open it up if I want it to, but we have to do a slip stitch. That slip stitch is going to create a stitch. So we would have a stitch in between here. We don't want that. So we are going to do the same thing as before. We're going to skip all this, so skip the first stitch, go under the next V, and then yarn over, pull through, and then pull through that loop through the loop on your hook. Now that, as you can see, has created this V here, and that V lies on top of that standing double crochet and forms its top. And to me, again, that makes sense to do that because you don't create the extra stitch, you just lay it on top of the stitch that can use it because it closed up for me. Okay, so we are now at the third colour. Slipknot, insert your hook, pull it closed, yarn around the fingers and off we go again. Once again, this is where I finished. I'm going to start here. So now we are going to not only do corners, but we are also going to do sides. So yarn over into that hole, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And so we are going to make a cluster here, a cluster, once again, 3 double crochets. Now we go to the corner, and there we do a cluster, 2 chains and a cluster. I call them granny clusters actually because they are the granny clusters. They are the clusters that we use for granny squares. Oh dear. Right, and then there is the next location between 2 clusters. You're going to put a cluster there. Okay, next location is a corner. So you do a cluster, 2 chains, you turn your work and you do another cluster in that same position. There we go. And now the next position is, in between those clusters. Why is that red coming into the viewfinder? Honestly, it wants to be in the video. Okay, now again a corner cluster. So we are doing 3 double crochets, 2 chains, you turn your square and you do another 3 double crochets. Now with using colours, I think actually it makes it easier for you to see where you are going, so you know exactly which is your previous round. So I actually thinking now it might be, if you are starting, if you are just beginning with crochet, it might be easier to do a multicolored granny square because then you see where you are and what you are doing. So we need to go into the orange, in between the orange clusters. Okay, so again here, finishing off, that one has closed up under the next V, and we create a slip stitch that lies on top of that standing stitch. And there we go. Right, so that is our next colour done. We are now at the 4th colour. Again, Slipknot. I think starting with a standing stitch is, to me, the less, most straightforward, I think. So, yarn over, again, to the right of where we finished, and we just act as if we are crocheting. And we start doing our clusters again. So, as you saw, in the orange round, we just have corner clusters. In the yellow round, we now have corner clusters, but also side clusters. Okay, now in our green round, we have 2 side clusters on each side. And you will notice that every side, those side clusters will increase. So this is where your blanket grows. You will have more and more clusters on your sides, and yes, that will become, longer and longer sides. This granny square is determined, the size is determined by the amount of colours of the rainbow, obviously. I would normally make my granny my granny square. I don't know how big I would make it. It just depends, to be honest. It just depends on how big you want to make it. And yes, indeed, it does depend on the colours that you are using. So here we finish with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a side of 5 here. Although the purple, I am going to use that to put my blanket, I was going to say. I'm not making a blanket, but I'm going to use that to put my squares together. Okay, so I am doing all my squares ready. I've just done the one with the purple, and the rest I stopped before the purple. Okay, so if you are going to make a blanket and you are going to put them together the way I am planning on putting them together, then you have to make sure that you don't do the last round, because the last round I use to put them together. Okay, so here we are still doing round 3, and as you can tell, yeah, we're doing more and more clusters. So every row, every round will take that a little bit longer because you are doing so many clusters more per round. There we go. And here we are. This is our last corner. And we do 2 chains, another cluster, and we are ready to close up our round. Do that V there. There we go. And because your ends are at the same height here, what I tend to do is I put a little knot in them. There we go. Carefully, don't pull too hard, but that just secures the both ends. And if you're really lazy, I even sew them in together. I just put them both on my needle and I sew them in together. I have no, I just, you know, I'm not apologizing for that at all. Okay, so we are now blue. Again, same thing. I think I'm not going to cut into this video. I'm just going to keep it as it is, all in one take. Have a look at that. Okay, so, and we have started again. There we go. That's our first cluster. And as you can tell, in the green we had 2 clusters. Now we have 3 side clusters here. So, oh, that's split. There we go. See, 3 side clusters, and then we do the corner. There we go. And the second side of the corner, there we are, that's the corner done. Now, if you find, mine is lying nice and flat, if you find that yours is coming up like this and a bowl shape, that means you might need to do a 3 chains there. If you find it's almost too loose, you might just need to do 1 chain there. I tend not to do any chains in between my clusters. You know, so here, some people do a chain there as well. I don't need to do that. It might be a choice to do it. It might make your granny square bigger. But I quite like, you know, this look. It's quite a, you know, nice tight look. There are holes obviously, but they're not too big. So in a way, it all depends on your tension, on how you crochet, but also what you like. But this is a good standard, you know, way of doing a granny square. There we go, and off we go again for side clusters. I can hear it squeaking, can you? It's always funny when that happens. This is my normal speed of crocheting. I crochet, everybody says I crochet quickly, but to me it's just normal. I hope in the beginning I was slow enough for you to see everything. But yeah, you should be able to, you know, sort of recreate this granny square. And like I said, because this is in the various colors, it's more clear where you have to go next, basically. I've had, you know, sort of some people end up putting their clusters in the wrong place, but I think with having it as a multicolored square, if you know which one was your previous round, you should know where to put your next round, hopefully. And there we go. We are doing that last corner. 1, 2, and turn it slightly just to bring it in to the other side of that same corner space there. And once again, this has closed up for me. I'm going in there and I'm doing a slip stitch there. And we are doing our last color here. So we have the indigo, and like I said, the violet we are going to use to put it together. So that will be for the next video. So once again, let's get started here. Yarn over, insert and do that standing stitch. As you can see, this comes undone a bit. What I tend to do, and I always forget to do it before I actually start, I do that little knot, and that then keeps it together for doing the rest of that cluster. There we go, see? And off we go again. This time we don't have 3. Hang on, that's that blue coming along as well. This time we don't have 3 side clusters, but we have 4. And then we have the corners. So let me just show you. There we go. Okay, so that's my side now. And now I am doing the corner in the corner, of course. A cluster, 2 chains and a cluster. I'm using a 3.5 for this, as I always use a 3.5 for Stylecraft Special DK. It is prescribed as a 4, but I have to go down a stitch. I have to go down half a hook size. If I did not do that, it would make my granny square very flimsy, and the openings would be much bigger than what they are now. And I quite like this. This is the fabric, the flow of the fabric that I quite like. Yeah, with a 4 it's just too loose. Once again, that is something that you you know, have to work out. If after you've made your granny square, feel it. Do you like the look of it? It should be soft. If it's really tight and rugged almost and you know, stiff, that's not right. You'll have to change your hook to a bigger size. If it is, like I said, for me, if it is too loose and the holes are too big, that it looks scraggly and it doesn't look very nice, then that means you have to go down a size, so a smaller hook. So yeah, in the beginning you really must you know, see what your work is like, and you know, see the result, assess your result, and take it from there basically. Okay, we're almost there, just one more side to go, and then I will be sewing in the ends and I am going to put them together from there on. So 2 chains, another cluster in that same position, and another side to do of 4 clusters. Each cluster is made up of 3 double crochets. Why is that hair there? 3 double crochets. And here we are, the last one on our side. And our last corner. 2 chains and our last set of double crochets for this corner. There we go, and once again under that V do a slip stitch, and there we go. So these are the granny squares that I have made. I am going to have to make another 2 because I think I need 6 for my cushion this time. So I will be back when I have made those and when I am ready to put them together for my cushion. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!